So I was watching one of those videos about the Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly beef, and there was a recommended video on the side of my screen of Vlad interviewing Fat Joe. I'm not a fan of neither of them. I decided to just look at it because Biggie is my favorite rapper, and the title said that Fat Joe said that he was close to Biggie and they were going to make an album together. I was like, okay, fine. I heard him tell that story before, but let me hear what he's going to say in this story to see if it's going to be the same as the first story. So I went, I listened to it, and I mean, Fat Joe said that he is on the level of closeness to Biggie just as Jay-Z, right? He said he's no Junior Mafia, he's not on the Junior Mafia level, but he's on the Jay-Z level of friendship with Biggie. And I was like, wow. I'm not a fan of Fat Joe. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't think he can rap. I really don't. I don't like his songs. I like Lean Back, and the only reason I like Lean Back is because of Remy Martin. She was fine back then. But anyway, I'm thinking to myself, but Fat Joe, if you were that close to Biggie, how is it I've never, ever heard on any track Biggie giving a shout out to Fat Joe? Not one time. Not one time. I've listened to tracks where Biggie has, given shout outs to Little C's and Jigga, Little Kim, P. Diddy. I've seen him done interviews and he's giving shout outs to Uncle Luke all the way in Florida. You were living in the Bronx and you said you were that close to Biggie. You said you talked to him every day or almost every day, and this guy never gave you a shout out on not even one track. Every time Little C's does an interview, they ask him about Biggie. They never ask Little C's about Little C's. If Little C's goes to the church next week Sunday, they're going to ask him about Biggie. And Little C's has given many stories about Biggie. And, just their day-to-day lives with other rappers around them and stuff like that. And he never, not one time, mentioned Fat Joe. I've never heard Little C say, we was hanging out in the studios and the phone rang and it was, I answered and it was Fat Joe and I said, yo, Big, Fat Joe's on the line. I've never heard him say, we went to the club to hang out or we went to the Bronx and we chilled with Fat Joe. I've never heard that. I've heard them talk about Busta Rhymes. I've heard Biggie mention Snoop in his raps. I've never heard him say anything about Fat Joe, not one time. So how close was Fat Joe really to Biggie? I don't think he was that close. Maybe he knew Biggie, but not that close like he's making it out to be. And Biggie's not here to verify it anyway. Jay-Z did interviews, and he spoke about him and Biggie going out to dinner to eat every day. And Little C's confirmed that on another interview. Whenever Little Kim does interviews, they ask her about Biggie. Along with herself, they ask her about Biggie and events and stuff that happened, and she never mentioned anything about Fat Joe. So how is it all these people who are close to Biggie never ever spoke about Fat Joe hanging out with Biggie or talking to Biggie? And Biggie never gave this guy a shout out in not one of his songs. But you're trying to convince people that you are so close to Biggie. I don't believe you. And you don't need more people. because there's no convincing me. You were not that close to Biggie. He went on to say that, he did 4 songs with Biggie. They were not released, and Puff Daddy has the masters or whatever, whatnot. Puff Daddy was the producer or whatever. So you're trying to tell me that as money hungry as P. Diddy is, right? Because P. Diddy is money hungry, very selfish. And you're trying to tell me, as a huge Biggie fan, and all Biggie fans know what I'm going to say right now is true. We've been fiending for unreleased Biggie tracks. An unreleased Biggie track, to us, is like Biggie dropping a new single. And you're trying to tell me that P. Diddy is sitting on unreleased tracks by Biggie and Fat Joe, and he's not releasing it, knowing how much millions that could make? Not because Fat Joe is on it, but because Biggie is on it. If it's even to cut out Fat Joe's vocals and just leave Biggie's vocals. Biggie even did a song with Sadat X, and he shouted out Sadat X in his verse. And he never shouted out Fat Joe. I think Fat Joe's lying. I could be wrong. Because I wasn't around these guys, but looking at the evidence that we have in front of us, all these years, the interviews, the footage, the music, there was never any mention of Fat Joe. I'm saying they probably knew each other because they're all New York MCs. But I don't think he was that close to Biggie like he's trying to let everybody believe that he was. I'm not buying that. I'm out.